Hello and welcome to Puppet Performers. So today we're going to be looking at puppetry and we're going to make our own puppet. Puppets in the theatre have a vast history, and there's lots of different types of puppets, but we can mainly categorise them into three types. The first type are our hand puppets. So these involve things like finger puppets, puppets that we use 3 fingers with, a head and 2 arms, and also glove puppets where we do this action. We also have rod puppets. These puppets generally have sticks on them, maybe sticks attached to their arms so they can move their arms, or sticks attached to shadow puppets, for example, so that you can move them around. The third type is string puppets. So these are the kind that you have a cross maybe at the top, strings dangling down, and the puppet is attached to the strings, and then you can manipulate the strings to move bits of the body. Puppets can be used in the theatre as a performer, and they can be as simple or as complex as you want. The idea of puppetry is about the illusion of an inanimate object, something that's not alive, being alive, creating a sense that it's a performer, that it has a voice and actions and an intention. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a glove puppet with a rod. So here he is. As you can see, my hand is in here and it controls his mouth, and I have my rod to control his arm. Let's go make him.
So you'll need a few things for this. You'll need some cardboard. I've used an old cereal box. You'll also need a pair of socks, a glue stick, a chopstick or some other sort of stick, a pair of scissors, a pen, and a pair of buttons. Now, these are for the eyes, but you could use anything you want. You could even draw them on paper and cut them out. You could use pom-poms, you can use beads, anything that you can find to use for a pair of eyes. The first thing you're going to need is a piece of cardboard and one of the socks, a pair of scissors, and your pen. You'll want to take your sock and fold it out so that it's flat. Make sure you can see the whole of the heel on one side. Then you're going to get your cardboard and fold it in half. This is going to form the inside of the mouth of your puppet. Put the toe end of the sock on top of the cardboard. Put about as much on as from your fingertip to your knuckles. Then draw around the top of your sock. Once you've done that, grab your scissors and cut out your shape. Make sure that you're cutting out from the folded edge so that you're cutting through 2 layers of the card. And that should create the inside of the mouth of your puppet. Now we're going to put the mouth inside your puppet. So you'll need your glue stick. Take your sock and turn it inside out. And again, you want to flatten it out so that the heel of the sock is completely on one side. Now you want to take your card mouth, and on the inside of the mouth, you want to put your glue. You'll need quite a lot to make it stick, and you also want to make sure you get right to the edge. Once you've put this on, it might take a little while to dry, so you might want to wait before doing the next step. So once you put your glue on, take the toe end of your sock and stick it to the inside of your cardboard mouth. Once it's dry, you can turn your sock inside out. But you don't want your mouth to flip open. You want it to stay closed in the position that it's in. Pop it over your hand and give it a try. And that's the mouth of your puppet made. Now we're going to do the puppet's eyes. So I've got my buttons and my pen. I'm just going to colour in the inside of my buttons to make the pupil of my eyes. Now, like I said earlier, you could use absolutely anything for the eyes of your puppet. You might even have some googly eyes at home, or you might have some pom-poms. You might even want to draw them on a piece of card and cut them out. However you want to create the eyes for your puppet, it's totally up to you. Now we're going to attach the eyes to our puppet. So you want to lay your puppet out and get your glue stick. You'll probably need plenty of glue on your eyes to stick them to your sock. You might even want to mark out where your eyes should go on your puppet before you put them on, so that they're in the right position. Now we're going to create the puppet's arm. So take the other sock that you haven't used yet and just cut off the top of the sock, so you've got the heel and the toe to get rid of. Now you want to roll up your sock lengthways and stop just before you get to the edge. We're going to stick that edge down with our glue stick. Again, you want plenty of glue, and this will need time to dry. So don't rush on to the next step if your glue's not dried yet, otherwise your arm will unravel. Once it's dried, we can attach our rod. So I'm going to put some glue, plenty on the hand end, and I'm going to take my chopstick and glue it on. Now, I've used a chopstick, but you can use any kind of stick that you have at home. Maybe an old lollipop stick or a pipe cleaner, anything you can find. Once that's dried, you need to attach it to your puppet. Make sure it's secure before you do this. You don't want your rod to fall off. So take your puppet and make sure it's in the right position for you to attach your arm. You might want to mark it out first by putting it on and just marking where the arm seems to fit best. You don't want it too low down, you don't want it too high up. Again, we're going to take our glue stick and put plenty of glue on. And then we're going to attach the shoulder end of our arm. Again, it will probably need time to dry before we use it. And there we have one finished sock puppet.
I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that you make your own version of the puppet. Maybe even decorate him, give him some hair. You can do anything you want with this puppet. Please, please, please send us in your efforts to the Tramshed email. I would absolutely love to see them. Now let's bring your puppet to life. So this is the really important part of puppeteering. You can use any puppet you like for this. It doesn't really matter. But I'm mostly going to focus on the glove type of puppet. So that's the kind where it's over your hand and your fingers are creating the mouth. So when we're bringing a puppet to life, movement is the most important factor. So my first tip when it comes to puppeteering is eye contact. Just like when we're on stage as actors, we look at people that we're talking to and we look at them when they're talking to us. Puppets are exactly the same. To create that illusion that they're alive, that they're real, they need to look at the people they're speaking to. So you want to just practice with your puppet, making sure it's looking exactly where you want it to look. If he's talking to you, I want him looking at you. If he's talking to someone over there or to me, he needs to be looking at me. Simple. My second tip is thinking all about posture. The way we hold our body tells us a lot about our character, what we're thinking and feeling. It's exactly the same for a puppet. There should be no wasted movement when you're looking at using puppets. Every little movement counts because it tells the audience something about what's going on, how that character's feeling, what they're thinking, what they're doing.
So for example, if our puppet walked onto our stage looking like this, head down, sighing, looking a bit limp, wiping tears from his eyes maybe, that would tell us he was sad. If he came bouncing onto the stage like this, however, giving us a cheery wave, we would know that he was happy.
The next important element of bringing your puppet to life is the vocal work. When we have a glove puppet on, our hand is inside and generally it's making this sort of shape. Now when we're talking, our top of our heads don't generally flap about. That's really odd. But our jaw, the bottom part, does. In case of our puppet, the thumb controls the bottom jaw. It's a really tricky skill to master. Try just moving your thumb. It's hard and it can hurt your hand actually, so take it easy. A really good tip to get this working well, and you can see this sometimes when you're watching things like Sesame Street or the Muppets, is slightly moving your hand forward as you open. And as you can see there, the top jaw stays relatively still whilst the bottom jaw is moving. Now, of course, when you're asking your puppet to speak, you want him to be able to open his mouth with each syllable. Again, this is tricky. You don't want your puppet to bite the words off. You want it to open its mouth for every syllable. This is something that could be really useful to practice in front of a mirror to really get that technique down. Another important element of bringing your puppet to life, just like when we're on stage acting, we need to think of a voice for our character. So, for example, if you're a very posh headmaster, you might want to change your accent slightly to speak very posh. Or if you're a young child, you might want to have a very high voice. Practice your voices. Practice what that voice tells us about your character. So now that we've created that illusion when our character is active, we need to maintain that illusion. So just like when we're on stage, we're acting and we are reacting to everything that's happening on stage, and it keeps up that character, keeps everyone believing what's happening on stage. A puppet is exactly the same. It should always be listening, watching, reacting to what's happening all around it. Another thing that can break the illusion when we're thinking about puppets is the space that it's working in and what's called realistic movement. So if my puppet is here and it starts bouncing all over the place, I don't know many creatures that can do that. However, if he's here, he can move here, he can move here, he can move here, he can walk along. He suddenly becomes a bit more realistic. It's really important to maintain those boundaries that you've set for your puppet. I hope you found this tutorial useful. Have a go, practice, see what you think. Most importantly, have fun. The possibilities for puppets are endless, and there's so much fun that you can have with it. If you've made a puppet, please, please, please take a picture or a short video of it and send it to us at the Tramshed email address. Bye!